Cairo versus Addis Ababa. Which one is better? Cairo is just one of the world's great megacities in Africa, and it's a city that travelers love and hate in equal measure. It is as beautiful and rich in ancient finery as it is confusing and an attack on the senses for the first-time visitors. Its huge amount of noise, pollution and traffic might make a first visit tough to manage, but Egypt's capital has so much to offer to those who look past its faults. While at 2,400 meters, Addis Ababa is the world's third highest capital city, and it has solidified its place since it was built by Ethiopian Emperor Menelik at about 1892. Because of the pleasant temperate weather and months of constant sunlight in this East African location, life is lived very much outdoors on its busy streets. We will base our comparison on geography, infrastructure, cost of living, tourism, and overall attractiveness. Hello explorers, welcome to another interesting video on the channel. Before we proceed on our comparison, if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell and ensure to stick to the end to find out which city comes first. Geography. Cairo is located in northern Egypt on the banks and islands of the Nile River, directly south of the spot where the river leaves its desert-bound basin and splits into two branches into the low-lying Nile Delta area. The city's historical core is located to the east of the river. The metropolis progressively expands westward, absorbing the agricultural plains along the Nile. These western regions, designed after Paris by Ismail the Magnificent in the mid-19th century, are distinguished by large boulevards, public parks, and open spaces. The city's olden eastern half is radically different, as it was built up haphazardly over the years, with narrow alleyways and crowded apartment blocks. While government buildings and contemporary architecture dominate the western half of Cairo, the eastern side is dotted with hundreds of old mosques that serve as monuments. The city's extensive water infrastructure has also allowed it to grow eastward into the desert. Bridges connect the Nile islands of Gezira and Rhoda, which are home to several government offices and authorities. Bridges also cross the Nile, connecting Cairo to the districts of Giza and Imbaba. As for Addis Ababa, it is the capital city of Ethiopia, and it is sometimes referred to as the African capital because of its historical, diplomatic, and political importance to the continent. It is the world's third highest capital, located in the foothills of the Intonto Mountains and reaching 2,355 meters above sea level. It is situated in the country's geographic center. When the city was threatened by firewood shortage in the early 1900s, an intensive initiative to plant eucalyptus trees brought from Australia in and around the city effectively ensured its long-term location. The city is now surrounded by a green belt of forest and semi-subsistence agricultural land. This historically significant city is acknowledged as one of the world's most troublesome, yet interesting and attractive cities, situated in a lovely mountain landscape. The country's border conflict with Eritrea and shaky ties with Somalia have placed a great load on Addis Ababa, which has become a refugee center that cannot support them. Rapid population increase has resulted in slums with populations of more than 200 persons per acre. Looking at the geostrategic location of these two cities, Cairo takes the victory on this one, as it seems to be more peaceful than Addis Ababa, as it faces refugee crisis and conflict on its borders. Infrastructure and road network. Cairo has established itself as Egypt's major medical treatment center, and with a few exceptions, has the most sophisticated quality of medical care in the country. Greater Cairo has long served as Egypt and the region's center for education and educational services. Today, Greater Cairo has several government agencies that control the Egyptian educational system, as well as the most educational schools and higher education institutes among Egypt's cities and governorates. Football is Egypt's most popular sport, and their major teams play their home games mostly in Cairo International Stadium, and it is Egypt's second biggest stadium, as well as the largest in Cairo and one of the largest stadiums in the world. On the other hand, in terms of where poorer households are located, Addis Ababa is highly inclusive, as there are few places with substantial concentrations of urban poverty, and government rent control permits many poor households to live in the center. However, the city's fast growth has put a strain on its infrastructure and living standards. The government has also invested in transportation infrastructure to guarantee that new and existing neighborhoods are connected to municipal services. The light rail transit, which is the first of its type in sub-Saharan Africa, launched in Addis Ababa in September 2015. As work on the Sustainable Development Goals get going, the Ethiopian government has already begun to address some of the difficulties that Addis Ababa faces. It remains to be seen how far this investment will carry the city in terms of attaining inclusiveness, sustainability, and resilience required to ensuring that Addis Ababa becomes an economic powerhouse for job creation and better living conditions for its citizens. In conclusion, for infrastructure in both cities, Cairo definitely takes the lead on this one, as Addis Ababa seems to be struggling with high levels of population and an inadequate transport system, but hopefully they seem to be doing something about it. Cost of living. In recent years, the cost of living in Addis Ababa has risen rapidly. Housing expenses have more than quadrupled in the previous 6 to 7 years and are now similar to the median cost of housing in the US. Restaurant food has also risen in price, with a typical restaurant dinner costing the equivalent of $6 to $12, but groceries seem to be less expensive than most countries, making cooking at home less expensive. Groceries are far less expensive, less than half the price in the United States. Even though cab drivers may overcharge you if they realize you are new, public transportation is far cheaper in Addis Ababa than in most places in Africa. However, personal automobiles are significantly more expensive to purchase, but slightly less costly to maintain in Addis Ababa. However, everything else seems to be more affordable in Addis Ababa. Cairo's cost of living are amongst the lowest of any of the 248 teleportation cities. In comparison to other cities, average living expenditures are much cheaper, particularly in the real estate market. Moving to Cairo will almost certainly reduce your everyday living expenses. The city's downtown hustle and bustle attracts professionals who want to be close to their workplaces in Zamalek or Mohandisin. New Cairo is described as an up-and-coming expat neighborhood with enormous walled properties available at reasonable prices. Food is another area where your choices may either pay rewards or cost you dearly. Eating like a local will be cheap, as a kilogram of tomatoes, potatoes, and apples may be purchased for less than $2.5. Another area where you may save or splurge is transportation. This is due to the high expense of importing new automobiles into Egypt. Most jobs in Cairo include a vehicle as a benefit. Public transportation is normally dependable and moderately cheap. However, it can be quite congested during rush hours. A monthly train pass is normally priced at $21. After a brief bargain with a driver, taxis are also reasonable. Addis Ababa turns out to be more expensive than Cairo, making Cairo a more reasonable place to live, as cost of living tends to be cheaper there. So this point definitely goes to Cairo. Tourism. Cairo is rich in history, so there is a diverse range of cultural sites to enjoy on a modern visit. Many tourists visit Egypt's capital to see its ancient wonders, as well as to experience some of its modern vibrancy. Cairo on the Nile is famous for its own history, which is maintained in the spectacular medieval Islamic city and Coptic antiquities in Old Cairo. The Egyptian Museum in the heart of the town, with its many ancient Egyptian artifacts, is a must-see, as is shopping in the Canal Kalali market. No journey to Cairo would be complete without seeing the Giza Pyramid and the neighboring Saqqara Pyramid complex, where tourists can visit Egypt's first step pyramid, built by the architect Imhotep for the 3rd dynasty pharaoh, Djoser. As for Addis Ababa, it is home to over 120 diplomatic missions and embassies, making it a center for African-related international diplomacy. Walking along the roadway from Mescal Square to Sidest Kilo is both safe and enjoyable. It will allow you to see the Africa Hall, the palaces, and the Parliament Building, the Hilton Hotel, the marvelous architectural adventure of a building housing the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Sheraton Hotel, Menelik II's first modern school, built in the 1880s, the Trinity Orthodox Cathedral, and the National Museum. The city has a rich and fascinating history and culture. It won't take long for you to develop a feeling for it. In fact, 2 days in Addis Ababa is the ideal length of time to soak in all that Addis Ababa has to offer. Come to think of it, Cairo seems to have the oldest historical site in Africa, making it a favorite spot for most tourists than the ones found in Addis Ababa, and this gives Cairo the victory once more on this one. Conclusively, Cairo clearly takes the cup in this comparison against Addis Ababa at 4 points to 0. But however, Addis Ababa still remains one of the major cities in Africa. And like we always say, the best depends on who you are and what you're going to do there. There you have it, explorers. Cairo versus Addis Ababa. Which one is better? Please leave your thoughts in the comment section below. And don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and thanks for watching.